And I like hearing that. So
Good.
we're glad you're enjoying it, Pam.
Well, it's like so much that I'm implementing now, and you can only do so much and so much that's there for the future too. It's amazing.
Well, and I think the format of it, what we really intended and are hoping is working for people, is that because you've got it spread out over 8 weeks, you have time to get the next concept or the next step you need to take, and then you can put along a little bit, and then the next week add a little bit to that.
Exactly, and also, for this stuff you can't add right away, we've got the tools in, one place where it all is together instead of having to, go all over the place to get this information.
And we are back.
Okay, and I have 11 o'clock chiming on my computer.
How many attendees are on?
It looks like right now we've got 47 people are with us.
And they're just signing on in.
Yep. And, Fran, do you want to give it a minute so Blanche can get here?
Well,
or do you think we should start with introductions?
I think we should move along, and she will be here shortly.
Okay. We can do that then. Mm-hmm. So, another taping.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, it's Blanche Evans. How are you? Is this Joanne?
It is, Blanche. I am fine. How are you today?
Terrific.
Well, good.
Good to talk to you.
I am so happy to have you with us. And
well, I'm happy to be invited to join.
Well, great. Well, we are just getting ready to start here, and we have everybody else here. So
Good.
I was getting our technology part over here on my side to tape it already. And as soon as I do that, I'm going to...
Conference recording started.
So officially, I would like to welcome everybody to today, and we are really excited with the topic, Tired of Negative Headlines. Fran Flynn Thorsen and I have been doing a program called No Blogger Left Behind, and doing today's program really kind of fell out of that because we really want for people to be able to use their blogs to create some positivity out in the world. So the panelists that are going to be with us today are Frances Flynn Thorsen, well, myself, yes, but I'm Joanne Fosland. I'm a personal and business coach, and in partnership, as I said, with Frances Flynn Thorsen, we're doing a program right now called No Blogger Left Behind, which is a coaching program that takes you through 8 weeks of webinars to get a blog up and running. Frances Flynn Thorsen, if you don't know who she is my fairy blog mother. And she has some other claims to fame beyond that, but I must say Fran has been fairy blog mother to many people, and one of the other people she's been fairy blog mother to is my 6-year-old granddaughter who has a blog. So we say if a 6-year-old can do it, you can do it. And Fran also has many other hats. She has a background in publishing. And the 3 panelists that we have today, or actually all 4 of us, have bios on the No Blogger Left Behind site. So if you want a little bit more information or want to be able to contact any of the panelists that are here today, you will have their information at nobloggerleftbehind.com. So Fran is the managing editor of Realtown, and she's been blogging for years. And she really brings a lot to the table as far as her knowledge and how it works, because she's used a lot of different platforms. The second person we've got as a panelist today, I'm just so excited about. You all heard me welcoming her and her me, Blanche Evans. Blanche and I go way back, don't we, Blanche?
We surely do.
I don't know when the first article you posted of mine on Realty Times was, but I think it was like 96 or 97. Would that be right?
Well, we started in 97, so it had to have been then. But, yes, you were definitely one of the first people to cross my radar.
and Blanche is just really, I think, a household name. Most of us have heard of Realty Times, and Realty Times has been doing some incredible information gathering for us. Blanche never holds back from telling it how it is, and I think that makes what she brings forth to us even that much more interesting. And she's definitely a champion of the realtor community. So she's editor-in-chief over at Realty Times. And then our other panelist today is Hillary Marsh. And Hillary is over at Realtor.org. She's the managing director of editorial content or development for Realtor.org, and is really the web content guru. Hillary has been working hard over there, and you know, Hillary, I do GRI classes when in Arizona and tell people about the field guides you have up there. So I think in some ways Realtor.org is a hidden treasure that we need to know about. So we're really excited that you're here with us today and going to be sharing with us some inside scoop on what's happening over there.
Good. I'm excited about being here as well, and it's our goal to make it a less hidden treasure, frankly, because all the benefits of membership of NAR really come together and surface at the site.
They sure do, and it's just more stuff added all the time that makes it that much more valuable. So I would agree with you, getting more people over there to see what they've got and be able to use it is just a great service.
Good.
We also will have a couple panelists, Kelly Silkinson, Judy Wolfson, and Pam Dent, are standing in for those of you that are on the call that are on mute. And they will, as we interview each person, have a chance to ask what questions are burning in their mind. But you may also have questions burning in your mind. I see now we have 76 people on the call. If you notice on that little screen up on your monitor, there is something that says question and answer. If during the course of anybody's presentation you have a question, just fill that in. And Fran is going to be coming back to us, and we're basically going to wait until the last 15 minutes and ask some questions that come forth then after you've heard all of the questions. So I think that's it for introduction and housekeeping. And that means, Fran, I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can tell us how we can difference in the headlines that are out there.
Okay, and I will certainly echo your excitement and enthusiasm. Both of these ladies are just phenomenally talented, and and they are two of the most important pros in the real estate business. We've been hearing everybody complaining about negative headlines and the fact that the consumers aren't getting it straight. Well, I mean, certainly between Blanche Evans and Hillary Marsh, we have all of the resources that we need to help change that, and we'll get some really, really good advice today. I'm going to start with just a little bit of a technical tip before we start talking to Blanche and Hillary. And one of the technical tips I'm going to talk about involves, writing the headlines and some other copy. And so if you take a look at your screen, what I have there, I sort of snatched the Realty Times headlines for today from the Realty Times site. And that's very, very similar to what a lot of you may be getting in your email box every morning when Blanche sends out her little updates, or what NAR may send, Realtor.org, or may be sending, the daily headlines, and, Inman will send that. So you may see, headlines and text. And I just want to point a couple of things out about this, because a lot of you folks who are blogging have access to some tools that you're not using. And I've got a little technical tip today that I really want you to pay attention to. Now, I want you to take a look over here, and I want you to see that there's a headline and there's some text here below the headline. And that text below the headline is something that is going to capture the reader even more. I mean, take a look here. Foreclosures are ripping into the ranks of home ownership and on. I mean, this is really, really good. This isn't part of the article. What this is a summary of the article in just a couple of lines that contains words that draw the reader in. And what a lot of you bloggers have, and one of the things that makes me most frustrated in the course of the day, is to see that people aren't using this. This is one of those little tech tools that you need to be working with a little bit more. I'm going to show you how it works over on the Realtown platform. Now, if you're working with a WordPress blog or a Realtown blog or a TypePad blog, what you have access to a feature called teaser text. And what that text is under the headline is teaser text. You know, it's a short paragraph that entices your readers to click on and read the whole thing. If you're not using it, use it. You know, take a look at it. This is what the entry form looks like at the Realtown platform. You've got teaser text over here, and what I generally do is I copy the teaser text into the meta description. What the meta description is the little paragraph that appears when people find your blog entry on Google or on one of the search engines. So besides enticing your readers to click through, you have an opportunity to attract those little hungry search engine spiders that are looking for keywords and topics and categories, and this will give you a little bit more of that Google juice that they talk about. You know, it will bring more traffic to your blog, and it will invite readers to click through when your blog is fed into a lot of different types of readers, and you know, or if it's featured as an entry on the Realtown homepage, or as a TypePad featured entry or something like that. So that is my tech tip to start us off, because it's sometimes the little tech tips, you know, can make a difference in terms of readability and what people do. And now we're going to turn it over to Joanne and Blanche, who are going to talk to you about ways that you can, you know, reach consumers in some really interesting ways that they're doing over at Realty Times.
Okay, thank you for that tip, Fran, and I've got to be more careful about that myself. I notice I get lazy sometimes in the teaser text, and it sure is important if you want people to read it to grab them. And I know Blanche has a very strong way of presenting things that really does grab people's attention. So, Blanche, I'm just going to start us out with really a fairly general question about what tips and advice would you give people that are either writing in their blog or want to get in front of the consumer. I know you take articles from agents as well as those columnists that you have.
Well, I appreciate Fran telling everybody who's listening how important it is to use a little bit of the text from an article to include in the blog, you know, to tease people's interest. Of course, my advice is going to come from the standpoint of a publisher. You know, we are still kind of living in a Napster society where people feel like, well, if it's on the web, I can take it and I can use it for free. When actually that's not the case. The websites are publications, even if they're not traditional publications like books you'll find in the Library of Congress. They are nonetheless publications, and they've got some intellectual property rights. And Realty Times, of course, is we make ourselves very available online. We want to be read by consumers and by the industry. But that doesn't mean we want our text used on blogs and people's websites free of charge, because if you copy and paste a Realty Times story, that doesn't pay the people who pay the freight at our offices, and that's our advertisers. So our news is free, and you're welcome to use the news, but please, please, please use the links. Don't copy and paste the story because you want your blog to look bigger or more important. It's you actually look much more tech savvy if you draw attention to a story. You know, here's what Blanche had to say in today's Realty Viewpoint. Run the summary and then put a link to the story. And a new thing that you'll see in blogs is is videos. Well, of course, it's old hat to those of you who have been blogging for a while, but Realty Times now includes videos with our news story. So you have your choice of reading or watching the same news story. So that's been a lot of fun for us and a big change at our company.
Oh, it's very cool.
It's very cool, except now I have to worry about what I wear and how my makeup looks.
I can relate to that. A couple years ago, a guy was trying to get me to do the video stuff and said, wouldn't it be nice if your coaching clients could see you and you could see them? And I thought, no.
Well, it makes a big difference. It really makes it more personal, and but people have their own styles of communication, and we have many people who are longtime readers who just simply like to read. They just enjoy the look and feel of the written word. And then there are others who want to run the videos while they're doing their work, and they just look up and glance like they're watching a television program. So our news loops continuously for that reason.
Well, I just want to kind of go back and underscore what you said about the articles, because I think that there's confusion for people sometimes about this, and I didn't want people to think you were saying don't use the articles. You were just saying that if you were going to use them, copy and pasting, even though it had the attribution of the author, was not a good way to do it, that when they put in the link, they come to the page, and you actually encourage people to use the links and bring them back to your site, right?
Yeah, yes, and I'm glad you wanted to clarify that. We absolutely do want people to pass along our stories, but please pass along the link, because that's what pays our advertisers. If you just pass along the words, that's certainly flattering, but it doesn't pay the electric bill.
So as we're teaching people in our blogging class, there are a lot of different ways you can put a blog entry in, and using links to other people often gives you credibility because you're linking to somebody that's an expert in the situation. And the blogger can give his or her point of view and even, write a little bit on the same subject, but including one or more links will strengthen the credibility that they have with the clients as far as being experts.
Well, and I think that's the power of blogs, is to be able to demonstrate that you're getting information from various sources. Blogs aren't supposed to be long; they're supposed to be frequent. Mm-hmm. And just like anything else that you engage in, when you're communicating with clients or peers or so on, you want to have some sort of consistency to the communication. It looks kind of silly to have a blog and the latest entry is from October 07.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later when I talk about NAR blog guidelines.
I'm sure you will. But,
right. So we're really on the same page about that.
Oh, yes, Hillary. That is so true. And the important thing is that you're bringing ideas to the blog, and short and sweet is the order of the day. And that makes you look better. It makes your blog look more vital and more better kept, frankly.
Absolutely.
And of course, the people whose articles that you use will be more appreciative.
Now, I have a funny question for you, Blanche. In being a journalist, when you write a headline, do you write it before you write the story or after you write the story? How does that work for you? And can you
writing is a work in progress. Sometimes I'll start with a headline and then do the story, and as the facts change, I may change the headline. For example, I might take a point of view and then investigate it and find out I'm wrong, and therefore that would change the headline. Like the articles that I've been working on pretty frequently lately have been about the Case-Shiller Index, and I was very willing to be wrong about the index. I find that it's been very inflammatory. It scared a lot of buyers. It scared the general public, and there's reasoning behind it why it's designed to be, why the index is designed to be scary. And I wanted to be wrong, and I would have been willing to change the headlines around the story. But, as it turned out, in my investigations, Case-Shiller Index, the people behind the index have a reason to want to scare the home buying public.
Well, that's certainly information that's valuable for us to be passing along. And as we're saying here, tired of negative headlines, being able to see that sometimes those negative headlines do have some, like you said, a purpose in the back, or self-serving for whoever is putting it forth. What do you see that can be done, Blanche, to bring the good news or the not-so-scary news, maybe? I guess there's levels of this in different parts of the country. We're in different places.
Well, there's a whole list of things. First of all, it depends on where you're getting the news and how it impacts your local market. And in so many markets, it's the local newspaper that's scaring everyone by reporting what they're getting from the Associated Press. And you may have heard that press organizations are now shedding personnel. They're closing certain offices and so forth, and they're going to be more and more reliant on companies like Reuters and the Associated Press for their news, because that's what they'll be able to run on their local sites and in their magazines. It's sort of like paying for a news service. Well, the problem with that is that nobody's doing their own investigating. Nobody has the money to train and send out reporters to really find out what's really happening. So what's happening is that the housing news has been just beaten into the ground over and over and over using I'm sorry, I'm kind of throaty here today, using the same sources. And one of the sources that I noticed that all of the financial press seem to really love is the Case-Shiller Index. Now, this has been around for a few years. It was started by Robert Shiller, who's a Yale professor, a very nice guy. I've met him in person and served on a panel with him. And his belief is that housing is such an important part of the economy that it should be tracked, and that if people have money invested in homes, they should be able to hedge their bets with hedge fund products, just like they do with stocks. In other words, you can buy gold and treasuries and hedge off of each other, for example. So the situation was he figured out a way to make money with his index. And the way that he makes money is he's created another company called Macro Markets. And Macro Markets actually creates and licenses hedge fund products to be traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So it's actually in Dr. Shiller's personal interest to scare people to death about housing, because then you won't buy a hedge fund unless you're scared. So if you go to the housing hedge funds and invest, then you have this sort of feeling that you're covering yourself both ways. Uh-huh. And, I have a real problem with that, because he makes inflammatory statements like the housing correction could be worse than the Depression. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's irresponsible to say something like that, but let's put that into context. And I wonder if the average reader would put that into context, that during the Depression we had over 40% unemployment. Right now we've got 5% unemployment. So what is the event that's going to happen that's going to put another 35% of people out of work so that we can have the house housing crash that he anticipates or that he would like to see. So, you know, it's things like that, statements like that without the underlying supporting evidence that I find just unconscionable.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you brought up a really good point, Blanche, with the fact that newspapers and magazines are really cutting back on a lot of their research and their resources to do that. And one of the things that realtors are faced with in trying to share information is also the fact that, you know, they're selling real estate all day. You know, they have full-time jobs as realtors, and even though they may have blogs or other tools at their disposal, you know, they're not in a business of full-time publishing. And you have some a neat tool over at Realty Times, and maybe you can talk about that. You've had an HTML newsletter for a while, and that has kind of evolved into something brand new, hasn't it?
Well, and that's exactly why this is an important product, because we've got the news that counters just all that negative stuff. And I'm not saying that our news, on the other hand, is too optimistic. We just tell it like it really is. In other words, in real estate, there's always a buyer, there's always a seller. If things are not that great for sellers, maybe it's because they're better for buyers. So in other words, the market conditions are always good for somebody. Everybody is, you know, whining and crying about how slow the market is, but the investors are, you know, laughing all the way to the bank if they can get loans. It is an unusual market in that people are not as able to get loans, but think of it this way. We've just returned to the underwriting standards of the 1970s and 80s. That's the only thing that's happened. And then eventually greed will take over again, and the banks will come up with these very generous products that will allow more people into the home buying market again. So, you know, there are some people who are out there hurting, and I certainly don't mean to, you know, sound flip about it, but we're just returning to more normal market fundamentals. So what we do in our news is we try to tell the truth, and we you know, like with the Case-Shiller Index, we say, okay, the index uses some of the most volatile markets in the nation. And yes, while Miami is hurting, that doesn't mean Omaha is, or Oklahoma City, or Dallas, or many, many other areas that are in the, you know, that are not on the coast. The coasts are always more volatile. So what we do is we create a video newsletter. Like you said, it used to be print, then it was HTML, now it's video, where you can send out the link to your newsletter to your farm, to your peers, to anyone that you want to know the real story about real estate. They click on the link, and an immediate broadcast pops up with our anchors. I do the Realty Viewpoint, which is sort of a cross between Maureen Dowd and Andy Rooney, and I bring the comedy to the site. And, you know, you can actually see news professionals presenting the news about housing. So it's no different from CNN or Fox News or any other news broadcast. The only difference is we only do residential real estate news.
So we had the picture of the newsletter up on the screen, and in the black part where nothing's going on, that's where the newscast happens. And then I see over on the right side you've got some links to other articles, and the agent can completely personalize that. Now, what do you charge for that, Blanche?
The video newsletter is $5.99 plus $25 a month hosting fee, and then the additional stories that you want to add are $99. But this is an annual fee. It's not monthly. I mean, it's a wonderful price for what you get. Now, out of the news, we've evolved another product. For example, almost everyone uses virtual tours on their listings in order to promote it. We use a listing newscast around your listing. So when you send out a listing to someone, there is information all around the listing. Not only is it a video quality listing presentation, but around the listing are all the reasons why this buyer should buy this house. Why this house? because of the location, and here it is, or because of other attributes that it may have.
Well, I know you've whet people's appetite here. They can find out more about the products up at realtytimes.com.
Yes, realtytimes.com, and it's right there on the front page. And in fact, as soon as you click on realtytimes.com, you'll see our daily broadcast is looping. It runs until you turn it off, but you won't want to because it's fascinating information, including the interest rates, up to the minute interest rates, all kinds of information that a buyer or seller would want to know.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm going to ask Hillary then to tell us a little bit about what's going on at Realtor.org.
Okay, great. I sent a PowerPoint, but I don't know if it came through, and if it didn't, that's fine.
It hasn't.
So Realtor. Okay, that's okay. Is it too hard to put it up on the screen?
Oh, no, I don't have it. It has not come.
Oh, it has not come.
No,
Okay. Okay, so I'll just talk, and then we can send it to the attendees as a follow-up.
Wonderful.
So Realtor.org is the National Association of Realtors' primary resource for information. It's obviously there 24/7. There are 8,500 pages on Realtor.org, and a specific section of Realtor.org is Realtor Magazine Online, and there's another 36,000 pages of information there. So internally inside the organization, our slogan is Think Realtor.org first. Anything you're looking for, it's probably there on the site. Anything you want to know that NAR has done or is working on or offers on your behalf, it's on Realtor.org. So whatever you're looking for, before you pick up the phone, before you call your broker, look on Realtor.org and think about it first. One of the things that we've done recently is tweaked our Google search appliance. So when you search Realtor.org, we use Google internally, and we make sure that the things you're looking for are up at the top of the search results, and it's called We Recommend. So always look on there. The thing that I wanted to say is, in my opinion, and I'm not a realtor, but I've been working on content issues and online content for how many years now? Probably 13. To combat negative headlines, what you want to do is showcase your expertise and show your local expertise and talk about what you know. And really, your blog is a media outlet. So if you want to combat negative, find the positive and talk about that. That gets picked up, and then you're in the mix instead of just standing on the sidelines, sort of wringing your hands in, and being upset about it. You're being proactive. And coming back to Realtor.org, we have tools for you, both information for realtors in all kinds of different ways, and I'll walk you through them in just a second, as well as information that you can share with customers. And all of that is to make you look as knowledgeable as you are, become more knowledgeable, become more professional, learn more, do more, and offer more. So on Realtor Magazine, we have a whole collection of articles specifically for rookies, specifically for people who are just joining the business. And there are about 20% of all the realtors who leave the industry every year and who come in. So that's 200,000 people. That's a more. So that's a lot of people who are new who really need that extra help, and we've got it. We have economic research, and numbers are the best way to show information and to take impressions and prove them wrong. This morning I read a fabulous blog post that's called How the Mosaic Illustrates the Truth and the Fallacy of the fact that real estate is national. And so it showed this great picture, those collages that are made up of little mini pictures. And so this showed a big collage of pictures that represents the national real estate industry, but each picture tells a different story. And so as a local realtor, it's up to you to really showcase your local story and talk about the neighborhoods that are doing well and talk about the successes that people have had when they've priced their house correctly and when they have done what they need to do as a seller. So more resources that we've got on the site. We have information about how to build a better website. We've got pages about how to start a podcast. We have a whole architecture guide so that you can become more knowledgeable about the different types of housing architecture that exists. So you're calling a Queen Anne instead of making a mistake and calling it something else. We have a ton of information for realtors to talk about and to give home buyers and sellers. We've got a specific section of handouts for home buyers and sellers, and information for home buyers and sellers as well. I think Fran mentioned this at the beginning of the call, or Joanne did, that we have field guides, and those field guides, funny name, but they're just information guides on the topics that realtors ask us about most. So whatever you want to know, there's probably a field guide about it on the website, from foreclosures to for sale by owners to what to say, and any topic that is popular. Our Information Central, our library staff, writes about it, gathers all the links about it, and makes sure you're knowledgeable and you have that information right at your fingertips.
Do you know what I found, Hillary, working? When I first started blogging, it was interesting because I started to use Realtor.org as a resource for information, because I was
just
blogging
about to make that
seriously.
point right now.
Yeah, I was blogging very, very seriously, and one of the things that happened when I started blogging and when I started to use Realtor.org and to do that type of research was my own knowledge base expanded exponentially, month after month after month. And not only was I doing better blog posts where they had a lot more information for them, but I was a better realtor. I was better able to to discuss the market generally and to discuss things in specifics. And for people who have not really looked at this, if you are blogging, you need to get to know Realtor.org inside and out.
Well, and the reason, this is why we come to work every day, to help you be smarter. And so, that's the purpose of gathering all this information on the behalf of all the realtors out there, our association's members. That's where your dues dollars go. So, yeah, thank you for the plug. I appreciate that. That's absolutely our dream and our goal in putting all this information out there. Realtor Magazine, their motto is the business tool for real estate professionals, and their goal is to give you information that you can use Monday through Friday. And all the information that's in the magazine is online, and there's so much more than that also in the magazine section of the website. So there's a personal marketing plan. There's email banners that you can download as part of the public awareness campaign. Rates are low, inventory's high, now is a good time to buy. We'll stick that in the bottom of every email that you send. And it's a message that reinforces itself all the time.
And very, very good blog food, good material for blogs, for blog articles. And speaking of blogs, Hillary, what is NAR doing with...
I was just about to get there.
Oh.
Somebody had a question, though. Pam?
The banner that you referred to on emails, can you put that on your blog?
Yes, you can. It's just a simple graphic.
Good.
It's just a simple graphic. That's a great idea. That one in particular is in the public awareness campaign section of Realtor.org.
Hillary, this is Blanche. I liked what you had to say about numbers, and I confess I use Realtor.org quite a bit myself to get information to fight the negative headline. And I think it's one of the best sources out there for that. You have a wonderful, wonderful research department there, too.
Yes, we do. And they have information about local real estate markets as well as the big, broad national market. So they do reports on about 100 local markets and the housing trends in each of those.
Which
and
is
you can
more
find
than
that
the other indexes out there, by the way.
Right. Right. And they update those, I think, quarterly.
Well, tell us about blogging guidelines.
Well, so for blogging guidelines, it's interesting, and I had to really think about what to talk about. And right now our legal department is reviewing the legal sections of what we will and won't do. But there are a lot of guidelines that aren't. So let me talk to you about one of the guidelines that our legal department is looking through right now, and that is comments. So we are preparing to be much more open in our comment policy, and I would recommend that you do the same thing. So if you have a blog, accept comments. develop a policy, and this is what we're doing right now, outlining what you're not going to accept, and then accept everything that doesn't comply with that. So, for example, ours is going to say some variation of, we'll publish anything unless it's offensive, illegal, irrelevant, or it's a sales pitch. So pretty simple, and there'll be more words to that and go into a little bit more detail, but you may want to do the same thing on your blog. And the other thing that you need to know legally is if you do have a blog and it does accept comments, it's not a great idea to edit those comments. And the reason is that if you edit comments, you become a publisher then, and you become responsible for the content of all those comments. If you're simply housing other people's comments, you're not liable for what they say. So if they report a fact that you didn't know was untrue but that it was, your responsibility changes depending on whether you edit that comment or not. So that's a legal kind of guideline. But besides that, blogs are such a great promotional tool because it's text, and because it's a conversation. So your blog post might be, here's what I think, or it might be, here's this really interesting thing I read, link, and then here's what I think about it. So that has multiple times more facets than the first one because you're building on somebody else's conversation, or you're commenting on their blog about what they wrote. And then you're promoting yourself on their blog. And not only are you promoting yourself, Google's promoting you because Google sees all those links back and forth, and boom, everybody's higher in the search engine rankings, and the conversation then works for you. So, probably this is the kind of information that Fran and Joanne are covering in this course, I would guess, but I just wanted to give my own spin on probably the same thing.
You know what, the other question we have about comments, Hillary, often is moderated or unmoderated. Most people are going with comments right now, and a lot of people want to moderate them before they're posted. Do the guidelines offer any guidance one way or another in terms of moderating versus non-moderating?
Our legal staff, to tell you the truth, requires us to moderate it.
Okay.
Because otherwise, how will we know if it's going to comply with these guidelines or not? So I don't want somebody posting the F word on my blog. I don't want somebody posting, George Bush is a jerk on my blog. I don't want somebody posting a sales pitch and then I take it down because they did a screenshot and then I'm liable. So we're reviewing it. We're making it a practice now to review them a lot more often, and we're taking the time and effort to do that and get the posts up there quickly, but post them unless they don't comply with the guidelines. So they're moderated, but it doesn't act as too much of a bottleneck. It's not sitting around for 2 weeks before we get around to posting it. So that's the other counterpart is, yes, it should be moderated, but you have to make the commitment as the blog owner to act, and to review those posts.
Wow.
Some tools let you.
They're weighing liability, even with additional liability with unmoderated posts. That's interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely. They required us. That was a deal breaker for them. We couldn't put blogs on Realtor.org, and this is a couple of years ago, but we weren't allowed unless we moderated the comments.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of brokers have been very, very reluctant to support, agents having blogs and doing some of this type of online publishing because of the inherent, liability and the risk that was attached to it. So I know that people will be very, very anxious. Do you have a date that guidelines may be published or they may be able to review something like that?
They're in legal review right this minute. When I sent them, I asked what is their ETA to review it, and I'm sure it'll be several weeks, and then it also needs to go through our senior leaders, which it is about to do in the next couple of weeks as well. So I imagine that we'll be able to post the guidelines themselves on the website within the next month. Mm-hmm. I would say it may take that long, but really these are, we're creating them primarily for ourselves, but they have absolute relevance to everybody else out there as well. So let me just read you or walk you through what we have. 1, be interesting. So write in your real voice. Write as if you were talking to somebody, and I think realtors are among the very best people out there about doing that. And, you don't have to sound like a news article, but, be conversational. You could also ask questions. That's a great way to spark comments and invite people into the conversation. 2, be wise. So don't write anything in a blog post that you don't want publicized or shared or linked to or tracked, because that's going to happen. Invariably, the one you don't want shared is the one that's likeliest to be. Don't defame anybody. Don't say anything stupid that you would negate or you would not post if somebody did it on your blog. And be honest and clear about who you are. If you have some sort of specialty, state that so people understand that you're speaking from experience and not just making stuff up. Be concise. And somebody got to this point earlier that says, don't write long, write often. Blanche, you said that.
Yeah.
So I'd go for one paragraph in general. Our software that we use for our blogs on Realtor.org lets us have a short part and then a read the full post, so that if somebody feels that they need to write something longer, it's not taking up the whole page of the blog to do that. So it's called a jump or whatever. Write clear headlines. So let's talk about that for a second. And a clear headline is really important because a lot of people see your blog not because they go to yourblog.com. They get it in their reader. So it's a headline, and maybe their reader doesn't pick up the teaser text. So you can't rely on the teaser text explaining what the headline says. That headline has to be clear enough on its own, and not just clever. In fact, it almost shouldn't be clever. It should be clear so that people want to click and read it. So it's got to be compelling enough to be readable, but it's got to be clear enough so that it's not too cutesy to even make any sense. Otherwise, they'll just pass it over and go on to the next one in their reader. So your goal is to make that headline entice readers to read the full post, so that they come onto your page, so that the advertising is supported, so that the rest of your message really gets across. So that's a really important. So headlines require extra effort. Link intelligently. So we've already talked about that a lot. Consider adding depth with multimedia. We also talked about that a lot. And make sure you're spending the right amount of time in blogging, because if it takes up too much of your time, which it's very tempting to do, then you really need to balance, obviously, your work and your blogging efforts. And the other thing I want to just make sure to say is make sure that you promote your blog posts elsewhere where people are going. So that's one of the great advantages I found to Twitter.com is many people say new blog post and they'll just link to the blog post, but I don't necessarily follow all their blogs, so that it's new information for me and it's really informative and really helpful, so that you're making your blog promote you every possible way. So I think that's all I had to say.
Okay. Well, we do have some questions here from the troops, and for both Blanche and Hillary. Blanche, can we access your Case Shiller articles via Realty Times via a search of the topic?
Absolutely. We've got a search feature on every page to make that easy. And unlike some new services, our archives are totally available free of charge.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So you just put in case-Shiller or case/Shiller, and any story that has that tagline, has that meta tag in it, will pop up.
Okay. For Hillary, Realtor Magazine Daily is great. However, we need to be able to get to the source of the stories published. Is it possible to have links with the short stories? That sounds like an
that's a good idea.
Policy question.
So I think what they're saying is, because we say source, Wall Street Journal, should that be a link?
Uh-huh.
That's an interesting idea. I'm not positive if there are any permissions issues with that, but I will certainly raise that with those folks. Great idea.
Okay. I have a technical question here, and I'm going to answer it shortly with a follow-up. It says, what is an RSS feed, and how to add this to our blog. Most blogs have RSS feeds. You just have to click on in your little blog manager to be able to find that. I will include the answer to that question in a follow-up email that you'll get in a couple days with a recording to this event. Now,
well, they may be asking two different things.
Okay.
They may be asking, how do I get one, or how do I send one?
Mm-hmm.
And how you send one is what you just answered. How do you get things via RSS feed?
Oh, good
point.
point.
And that's through Google has one, Yahoo has one. There are lots of other RSS readers that you subscribe to for free, and then you add whatever blogs you want to get sent to your RSS reader.
Good point. And what I will do is
I will
include a list of RSS feed resources with that follow-up.
Okay, and I'd like to back it up even more to simplify it, because there may be somebody on the call who has no clue what RSS is.
Yeah, good point.
Good point, Joanne.
So we're real simple syndication, and what it gives you the opportunity to do is subscribe or get things in a reader from other people's blogs or articles as well, right?
Good point. Okay, here's another one for Hillary. In my blog, I may have a link to a Realtor.org article, in my blog, may I have a link to a Realtor.org article or field guide? I thought this was a site for realtors only.
Yes, you are welcome to link to anything on Realtor.org unless it's password protected. So the letter of the law, legal analysis, that's password protected. Somebody at some point along the way decided that that's an exclusive benefit just for realtors, and it's not necessarily for outside eyes.
Okay.
Anything else on the site that you find where you don't have to log in to see it, you're absolutely welcome to link to it. It may not, not everything is relevant to a non-realtor. It may be written in real estate, speak, so that it wouldn't resonate with them, but you're absolutely welcome to. And the specific things I mentioned, the handouts for buyers and sellers, and the home buyers, which is on Realtor Magazine, and the home buyers and sellers section of Realtor.org, those are specifically for home buyers and sellers to look at. So you're more than welcome to share those, and I think lots of members do every month, and that's what they're there for.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's such good information. I believe a lot of people pay money for products that they're going to put together to give to their buyers and sellers, where all they really need to do is use their dues dollars here.
Yeah, $80 a year, that's where it's going.
It sure is. Here, and I have a question for anybody here. What do you recommend for agents that are not proficient writers? So it sounds like we have some people who may be a little bit reluctant to write because of perhaps a challenge with language skills.
Here's my advice: do it.
Just do it.
Create a blog and don't really tell anybody about it, and don't put the links in, and just try it. Write a post every day for a month. At the end of the month, you'll have gotten over the fear of what should I say, and you'll have seen it, what it sounds like in your head and what it looks like on the page, whether it's an electronic page or a printed page, are different. So just practice.
That's a good idea, Hillary, because how many of us writers started out keeping a diary?
Right.
Under lock and key.
Right.
And one of the neat things about blogs is that they're very, very forgiving. And like Hillary said, just write in the way that you speak. And if you write in a conversational tone, people aren't expecting to read, Ernest Hemingway when they read a blog. They're expecting
they don't even want to.
They're expecting to hear something conversational.
Right. It is a conversation, and they want to not only have that, they want to be able to join in.
Exactly.
And I think when you write as you speak, they get the flavor of who you are. And that's going to connect with some people, and it won't with others. So I think for the people worried too much about it being perfect or doing it the right way, they need to trust themselves in knowing if their friends like them, and other clients like them and have done business with them, they have something to say that's respected by others. Trust themselves.
Real estate is a talking business. So realtors are more likely than the average bear to be really good bloggers, to tell you the truth.
Good point.
I think the problem is keeping it short.
Yep.
And it's important to keep it short because today's consumer is quick. You glance at it and you're on to something else. They don't want to be reading something for 20 minutes.
Right.
Yep.
Right. You're just supposed to make one point in every post. It's not
Yeah,
your daily journal necessarily. It's one point.
That's why you want to keep your points short and sweet. Real estate typically beats inflation by 1 or 2 percentage points and has for the last 30 years. We've only had 1 year that did not.
Okay, very good.
That's
I have
powerful.
a good one here. I have a good question here.
Real estate typically doubles in value approximately every 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are statistics actually that we use in the public awareness campaign.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very friendly with Realtor.org. In fact, I write for Realtor Magazine on a quarterly basis. I do a commentary. And so we've been friends for years and years and years. And, I don't know where Realty Times would be without, the help and support that we get from the Realtor organizations.
And
Here's
you've
another
also
good
written a couple of wonderful books for home buyers and home sellers that NAR is working with.
Right.
As well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And we have them in our store.
That was quite an honor. Here's another good one. Homeowners have 46 times the net worth of renters.
Wow.
$171,000 versus $4,800.
Are you getting these?
MarketFacts.com.
Good.
Are these coming off of Realtor.org?
Some of them are HousingMarketFacts.com.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a website that we put together too.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a really good question.
If you just include those little bites like that, I think it's it has a lot of impact.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I have a question here, and anybody is welcome to answer it. I am also going to answer it. It says, do you suggest having more than one blog? And if so, which is the best to have, Realtown, Active Rain, or something else? And I'm going to answer that first because I have blogs certainly at Realtown, at TypePad, at WordPress, at Active Rain, and all sorts of places. My personal favorite is Realtown.com. It has lots of good tools and functionality. It's consumer facing. I think that really what you want to do is you really want to know what you're looking at and be sure that you can make an educated choice. Certainly Active Rain is a neat peer-to-peer platform among realtors, and you can have more than one if you are. It's a lot of work to have more than one, but you can work with different niche blogs. And if you get to the point where you can work with technology and RSS feeders and widgets and all kinds of things, you can marry your website to your blogs, and you can marry your blogs to each other and do all kinds of things. And certainly if anybody else has any thoughts along these lines, please share.
I do have one thought.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same conversation we had 10 years ago about websites. Should you have more than one website?
Good point.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Good point.
I wasn't involved in the realtor organization then, but I was involved with the web then.
Mm-hmm.
And
it really boils down to one thing: the purpose and or two things: purpose and upkeep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I've got another question here. Can you show us step by step how to create and write a blog? What I'm going to do is defer that question to No Blogger Left Behind, and invite you to take a look over there because we have some resources and tools for bloggers over there. What about here's a question, what about the new featured blogs from Realtor.com? How does that compare? Can anybody talk to that? Can you do that, Hillary or Blanche? Have you looked at those?
No, I don't.
Say that again? I didn't hear the question.
What about the new featured blogs from Realtor.com?
I can't actually talk in very much detail about that.
Yeah. What I will say is this: the Realtor.com blogs pretty much haven't been on a lot of people's radar. There are quite a few of them, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of discussion about them. We are looking at them closely, though, so keep an eye at No Blogger Left Behind, and we'll be looking at those pretty well soon. And here, Blanche, here's a question. I may have missed something, but and maybe this, maybe not. It says, if I start a Realty Times blog, can I have just the domain name? You don't have blogs at Realty Times, do you? They may be thinking about Realtown.
I think they're thinking of Realtown.
Okay.
We do have products for realtors, but not blogs.
Okay.
Ours are more. Our products are the video newsletter and the listing newscast.
Okay. So for the person who asked that, Debbie, you're probably asking about Realtown. You can get a free blog at realtown.com, and yes, you can use a domain name that you can purchase, at Internet Crusade or GoDaddy or anywhere you like, and you can do that. So you can see that. Can I get Realty Times here, Blanche? Can I get Realty Times through my RSS feed? Do you have that set up with an RSS feed?
Probably.
So, we'll take a look, and we'll answer that question again in the follow-up. Realty Times is a very, very, is a multimedia platform, so it would be surprising if they don't. Oh, and here's a good one, ladies. This is from Pat Moyer in Pennsylvania. What do you think about having a copywriter do your blog? Hillary, I'll bet you have some thoughts about that.
I do have thoughts about that.
Okay.
I don't think that really anybody can do justice to your voice. If somebody falls in love with your blog and then meets you, and there's a huge disconnect between what you say on your blog and who you are in person, that's going to be very confusing to them. If the point of your blog is to showcase who you are and what you think, how can somebody else write it for you? You might want to have an editor if you're very uncomfortable with your sense of grammar, or you might want to have, sit down with somebody occasionally and make sure that your writing is as sharp as you can, and there are classes you can take. So I think it might be a great idea to take a class or, sign up for some sort of web writing seminar. But I don't think anybody else can create your voice for you, and I'm not sure you really want to do that.
Uh-huh.
I'll second that, Hillary. I'd rather see people hire a coach.
Right.
Yeah,
you got two good ones right here.
And
yep.
I think probably, Fran, unless you have any more pressing questions, we're a little bit over the hour.
Okay, of course.
And
we've
I know
kept these
these ladies
people
are
for
busy.
quite a while. I'm going to point one thing out here. The Realtor.org has a wonderful press room, again, for material.
Yes, our press releases are up for grabs anytime.
Okay. And thank you very, very much for joining us. Joanne?
Okay, and I just want to take a minute here at the end. I thank Blanche for the plug, and No Blogger Left Behind is an 8-week course that we have set up, and Frances and I spend just each week giving you one bite of what you're doing so that you can add it to your knowledge base and build your blog and the value of it one step at a time, or I like to say one bite at a time. And Fran has up there on the screen the different platforms. We are what she calls ecumenical in our blogging platforms. So if you already have a blog you want to bring and enhance, the course is for you. If you don't have a blog at all, we start from square one with finding your voice and choosing a platform. And along the way, you'll learn how to put video in and widgets and monetize your blog and hopefully be getting business from the blog. We've done the class 3 times so far this year, and it's just really fun when we're getting emails from people telling us they've just closed or got a listing with somebody from their blog. So anything I missed, Fran?
I think you got it. I've just been delighted and very, very honored to to share this platform with Hillary and Blanche. This has just been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Ladies, you're wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was an honor to join all of you.
Yeah, keep up the good work, and we'll be reading you. And just have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. We will have a follow-up email going out in a couple of days with actually a link to a recording of the webinar. If you have any more questions, feel free to send us an email, and we will do that. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, and thanks, Pam.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.